Hi guys, welcome back to class 9. So for this class, we're going to be talking about how to block out our scene with simple cubes such as this from our sketch. So without further ado, let us begin. So with our scene, we have a camera, we have a cube, and this. We're going to delete the light for now because we don't need it for now. And for the cube, we can always delete the cube. And with the camera, let's go here and then turn this to 90 degrees so it's facing front, and then turn this to, we can turn this to 0 as well. So then we have our camera facing this way, the 0, and have a height of maybe 1.5 meters because that's sort of where we did our sketch. And then we can zoom in, and also with the camera to view selected, we can start dragging out our camera so we sort of see our axes right here. And then we can also make this, give it a nice whole number, change all this to 0. Alright, so now it's nice and centered. We can turn this off and we can go to camera, and then from the background images, let's check that and add an image. Here I'm gonna open up the sketch that we did for class 2 so we can see this is our image. And then for the opacity, we can turn this maybe 0.35 so we see so we can see exactly what we're building here. Okay, so now that this is done, we can start with building our street. Now here first we can add a plane, and then we can drag the plane up to the front so we kind of see exactly where it's going. This can go behind the camera a bit, and then with Alt and left click selected, we grab this edge and we can just move off to the side, and this as well for now. All right. Okay, and then we can shift A again and add a cube. This time we can turn on snap to vertex, and we can move this up and down, and then we can hit one of the edges and then move this down to, let's see, where we have our curb around this height. Looks about right. X-ray, so we also move this off to the side. Okay, now we have a sidewalk with a street, and now we can start with adding this building here. So we add another cube, turn on that, now we can move the cube off to the side, so and then this can be relatively high like that. Then this we can also move off to the side. And if you're unsure about the scale, we can always do this. We can add a cube that is here, and then we can give this a 1 meter size so we can see exactly how big our scale is, because once it's here, it's hard to see the scale. So we can see that the sidewalk is a little, almost 2 meters ish, so that's fine. Maybe we can move this in a bit, because usually sidewalks are not that wide in Asia. So then we get, it's relatively okay. Now we can push this all the way back here, and the building can be really wide. So if this is 1 meter, then 2 boxes would be 2 meters, and that's how tall a door is usually, or a little more than 2 meters. So then we can see that, okay, our sketch is relatively in scale somewhat, and this person is around about 1.5 meters. Maybe we can make this height a little bigger. So then we can go here, Control R. Whoops, we don't see that here. Maybe it's a little too high. We can lower it for now. Here we can go to Edit, Control R, and then if this is 2 meters, then we can hold on to the axes, and then we can give it a 0.4. So it's 2.4 meters. Then we can add another R, so it's around where we have our door. And yeah, we can add another R, so place some off screen, so it's like a wide-ish door. And then we can select our face here, and then let's press E to drag it in. So let's drag it in by 1 meter. And then for this face, we can just delete and delete. So now we have an inset. And then for this, our claw machine is right now about 2 meters. It's gonna sit right here. Maybe we can give it a little more height. So we can Control D, drag another box. If this is 1 meter, then we can make that 2.2 meter. So we add 1.2, and that's about right. Maybe we can even add another. Okay, it's gonna hit that, so 0.3. Whoops, I mean 0.1. Okay. So now we can delete these boxes for scale, or you can keep it off to the side for now. So that is the inset of the, so this is our claw machine. Then for claw machines, usually around here, we can, that's where the control panel is. We can move this in by a little bit. Delete these faces. Oops. Okay, let's do this. Move this out instead, and we can move this back in. So the actual scale, when we add in the person, we'll know exactly how big to make this, because we'll more or less adjust the sides so the person fitting inside would be more comfortable. But for now, we can just do this. And then for claw machines, this usually goes down like that. We can adjust the scale. Maybe it's a little too wide, so we can make it a little thinner. Yep, just adjust it like that. And then for the inside, we have another rim for the door. So what we can do is we can do this. Separate this piece, and let's just add that. Then we can extrude this out. Yeah, but maybe not by that much. So we have a little bit of room to move this. And now we can push this inside a little, so it's underneath the eaves, more or less. And this is hitting the back of the door. Okay, and now we can start adding a little bit of the other details, such as the garbage can. And then this is a bigger trash can, so it's like that. And we can move this part a little higher, because usually you have like the recycle one, and then maybe you have one for the glass. So yeah, and then maybe we can add another cube, so we have maybe some crates on the side. The crates, we can just make a crate. This can be a little random. Maybe just turn it a bit. And as for the building, we can push this in a bit, I think. All right. So now we have all these buildings. Now we have to actually, let's call this scene. And then let's call this main props, because that would be this. Later we'll have to go inside that. So let's give it its own collection. And here we can call it other props. And then for this, we call it street. You can also select these and then press M to move them into its collection. I think I missed this, so I can just press M and put this into props. Okay, and now we have our building. And the building can be here. And then we have our prop for scale. Let's just call this scale. All right, now we can control S and let's call this class 9_1. Okay. Now let's add another collection for the AC units. We can do this. Create several of different sizes, and we can just place them. So we have these smaller ones. They're usually kind of thin. And then within these, we can do this, Control D, and just scale these down a little. So we're creating the support in which they sit on. And we can pull this down so it's like that. And then maybe we can add another cube. Flatten that out to really, really thin, because that's the cover for the fans. So it's like nice and rough. So yeah, that's one of our AC units. And then we can now just control copy it and create another one. So we can delete this, and then let's make a circular cover. Yeah, I don't know why most of the vents are to the left side and not the right side. I haven't seen a lot that's like this. Usually they're on the left side, which is strange, I guess. And press F to make the face, and then we can just drag this out a little, and now we have our second one. In fact, let's do this. Let's make this a size smaller. So we have varying sizes. And then let's copy this over. And then we can just select everything and then make this, you know, those double scaled ones. The bigger units. Even scale this up a bit. And for this we can do that. And copy. Now we can create another simple support like that. Oh. We here mesh normals, flip normal. Oh. Okay, never mind. Yeah, we can do that and then go back, and because it's a rough model, we don't have to make it so perfect. So then we can just do that. Okay, now we sort of have 3 sizes, so that's fine. Let's see here. I'm going to move the support back a little because usually there's some room between the wall and the AC. As well as these. Oh, this already has room. So this one, I'm gonna move this back a little. All right, and then with the snap still turned on, I'm gonna snap them onto the wall. Okay, now we can go back to our drawing and start placing them. Yeah, just make sure that they're laid out nice and random, so it doesn't look like it's too contrived. It's good to have a reference image on the side as well, so you see the variations in sizes and the placements usually. I guess this part calls for a bigger unit. Okay, so the AC units are here. You can call this AC units 1, right? And move these in here so it's nice and clean. And now let's start what do you call it, pipes. Control S to save, and then we can start with doing the pipes. That is sort of like the IVs growing in the modern city. So for curves, it's really easy. Just they're the same as hair curves, like we talked about before. We can grab each of the length and just turn them, and then if you want to, you can extend it pressing E. To E, you can extend that, and yeah, just control them how you want. And so we can go back to our profile image. Then we can start, maybe for this one, I want to connect it straight into the machine here. So we can do that first. And now for another one. And then this can, you know, just hang around here. And then for here, it goes upwards. Just make sure to, you know, skip out on the supports. Otherwise, it's going to get cut off. And then this can go like that and upwards. So yeah, so we just have to add a bunch of these. And then this one as well. You can bring it over. You can delete these vertices. I'm going to delete another one. And this as well. Squeeze this closer. Then have this more or less aligned with the other one. So it's like growing upwards. Here we also have another unit. This actually has two maybe, because it's a bigger unit. And you can also have this go over here. Maybe it goes down a little like that. So yeah, this is the process, and we just keep adding. And then for this as well, some can hang down a little lower. Maybe this will go over like that. You can always refer back to our image here and see. And then maybe we can even add some more ones that just connect over. It doesn't have to be exactly, logical, but as long as like look wise it adds towards the atmosphere, then I think it's fine as well. Yeah, it's a fine balance between what is logic and what is the artistic needs in terms of composition. So this amount of balance decides on how your art will turn out to be, and every artist has his or her own balance, and that creates his or her own style, especially if it's based off of realism or semi-realism. Yeah, we can maybe even have some, just go over here like that. Okay, so we have more or less a good number of curves here, and depending on how it turns out later, we can choose to add more or less. So with these selected, okay, so with all these selected, we can go down to the curves, the object data properties, and then go to geometry, and then bevel. And then here, press Control. You have to hold down Control to hit all of them. If you don't, then only the last pipe you selected will work. So you press Control, and you can hit all of them. And we can give it a 0.02. This looks all right. And now once we have given its thickness, we can see that a lot of them are fighting. And then we just ease them out a little. So we make the tangle less, and some are in front, some are in the back. This will go over like that, and this will add more complexity towards the amount of tangle that you have. These will be pushed back here. Yep. Oops. Yeah, for some of these other tangles, might be a little complicated to adjust. So it takes some time, some patience to check out, all of them.